Because I'm looking at this entire backyard and I'm like, this is a labor of love.
This was gravel just from the patio. We have 2 pondless waterfalls. This is a huge work in progress.
Not only a certified wildlife habitat in the front yard, but also the back. This is the home of Keith and Polly Webb from Sunset Water Gardens. Can you tell that they're living the aquascape lifestyle? And this is a super cool story because these guys were actually hobbyists that hired a certified contractor, and now they're certified aquascape contractors themselves. Let's go around back and meet them. Background screensaver on a TV, and this is the paradise that they have created. I am so blown away. Mr. Miyagi, eat your heart out, but this is a work in progress. Hey guys. So, okay, oh, so is this the 3-year-old?
That's Nani, yes.
Okay, so this guy's 3. St. Bernard's. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And then you've got a 9-month-old.
Yes.
Okay, so look at Polly and say hi. So this is where you guys like to hang, huh? Now,
Yep.
I have an honest to God question. Does Keith ever actually sit in the chair?
Sometimes.
He does. Because I'm looking at this entire backyard and I'm like, this is a labor of love and then some.
I rarely sit.
Okay, come on.
Because if I sit, then I'm going to fall asleep.
Right. So this is so funny because I knew I was coming to Keith's house. I was like, don't show the back. It's still being worked on. This is because this is your hobby.
Yes, sir.
Right? It's always being worked on. But look at the bones of this garden. This is incredible. You got rose bushes. Tell us the goal, how this all started.
So basically, you know, I have been following all of you guys for quite some time. And when we bought this home, this was gravel just from the patio straight to the wall.
Yeah.
There was nothing back
How
there.
long ago was that?
That was 3 years ago.
Okay.
Actually, almost 4 years now.
Okay.
And I told Polly, I said I really wanted a pond. She wanted a pool. And we went back and forth between pool, pond. And she goes, look.
Wow, this is a husband that got his way.
I actually won.
This might be the first ever.
I'm probably the most spoiled husband ever. So, you know, she's like, go ahead, we can do your pond. So I actually sent in a request from, I knew about...
What year is this?
This was 2020, like the end of...
So just over 4 years ago.
So basically, we wanted a decent sized pond. I really wanted a big pond.
Yeah.
So I contacted Aquascape. And then from there, spoke with Ralph. Ralph came down.
So Aquascapes of Arizona.
Aquascape of Arizona. So we sat right over here. Him and I talked for the longest time about what I was wanting. And yeah, ended up finally getting this thing built. He came down.
In 2020, summer 2020?
21.
21, okay.
I'm sorry, January 22. We moved in January 21.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
So January of 2022, you got your wish.
Yep.
You didn't get your wish. You wanted the swimming pool, he wanted the pond, but you're a good supportive wife. Are you glad you supported them?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Why?
So there's a couple of reasons. One, I enjoy interacting with the fish.
Yes, which you
my-
couldn't have in a pool.
My grandkids love it.
Of course.
They love interacting with the fish.
Now, question, do the grandkids get in the water?
Their feet do.
How old are they?
The youngest one is 3.
Okay.
And the oldest one is 8 with special needs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I love the sounds. I like the way it makes me feel. So those are the basic reasons, yeah.
So this pond was built in January of 2022. I had Ralph Biezad from Aquascape AZ come out and actually build this pond. And as a great benefit to me and as a gift to me, he brought out Brian Helfrich from Team Aquascape, as well as Jaak Harju from Atlantis Water Gardens. And they built this pond, which is roughly about 17, 18 feet wide, and then about 15 feet across. It also has a 20-foot river with an intake bay. This has got 2 5,000 to 9,000 gallon per hour pumps. It's about 3 feet deep, as well as 6,000 biofalls and about just over 6,000 gallons of water. So this pond here is what I really wanted. My wife wanted a pool, but thankfully I was able to get my pond. Originally, this had a platform here that was our prayer platform, but we really wanted a sunken fire pit. So I have started that. This is a huge work in progress, as you can tell. On this side, we also have our smaller goldfish pond. We wanted to separate out the goldfish from the koi. So these pavers are going to be placed in as time permits. This is the small pond. This has a 2,500 biofalls at the top, as opposed to the intake bay. This has a skimmer, a 1,000 skimmer. Both of these ponds have the dosing systems. As you can tell, for me, I really love gardening. So that's probably, outside of the water features, that's the second best thing that I have that I enjoy. I was born and raised in Hawaii, so having a lush garden is really important to me. I love greenery, I love flowers. You could probably see the butterflies, the hummingbirds. Our house is certified as a wildlife habitat. We love having the quail, the roadrunners, multiple different types of animals come through here. And so it's just a really oasis for us to sit back and, hear the wildlife, look in the ponds and seeing the fish and being able to just relax. This is a space that when I'm done at the end of the day, even though I've worked on water features all day long, I still enjoy coming back here and then just decompressing. When I'm finished with a water feature at a customer's house, I enjoy them so much that I probably spend way more time, there after it's completed, enjoying it.
I just want to sit here and never leave. The only thing I hate about my job is having to leave. They got a nice shaded area here in the garden. I mean, I've been just walking around here, Keith, and the birds and the butterflies, and this is like a front yard, and there's not 1 inch of grass.
Yeah, and you notice, so from back here, where we're sitting, this was juniper trees on that side and this side and right over there. I tore those all out. The rest of it was all gravel that went all the way out to the end. The biggest thing for Polly, she told me, is when we moved into this house, she wanted a landscape that actually showed that we lived here.
Yes.
And so I asked her, before any of the pond got started or anything, I asked her if I could build a fountainscape. That was the main idea, was to build a fountainscape. And she said, sure, go ahead. And
so this was before the backyard, Polly?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
The very first thing that he did.
It was planned. The pond took about 8 months planning, and then when we actually built it. So in that meantime, Polly's actually the one that told Ralph, so, hey, Keith would really enjoy doing this, especially with his art. He loves gardening. So I was going to have Ralph actually build the fountainscape, but Ralph said, well, why don't you start with that? So that's what I did. I built a medium and small urn.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, we also had a pondless on this side. Since then, I've torn out that original fountainscape.
Of course you have.
And because those weren't indicative of what, going to Aquascape Academy, doing the university, going and working with Ralph and Brian, and, as the last 3 years have gone by, skill sets have changed.
Of course.
So,
it's always adapting.
Oh, absolutely. And so that's why I went and redid all of this and then finished up the rest of the landscape.
It looks spectacular. It's a wildlife habitat. There's not 1 inch of grass. Why don't you give us a tour of what you created out here?
Sure. So this is what we've created in our front yard. Originally, this was a small and medium urn. On this side was a pondless waterfall with an urn inside. I've spent the last 3 years working under some of the best pond builders and water feature builders in the world, especially Ralph Biezad, who's a master CAC as well as an artist of the year. And over the last couple of years, really what I was building had changed, and it wasn't indicative of my skill sets now. now. So what I've done is I've done a 3-urn cluster with a bowl, using some of those smaller sections as smaller spillways. And then over here, although this is kind of high, we have 2 pondless waterfalls now. I tore out that old one with the urn, and I wanted something that was a lot more vegetation around it, and wanted something that actually showed from the roadway. We have a lot of neighbors that walk their dogs. We do. We've got 2 St. Bernards, and we wanted something that was inviting for them. So what we wanted a waterfall that they could actually see from the roadway as they're walking and then driving through. This front here, we had just junipers on the back, right up against the house on both sides. There was probably about 12 junipers. Dug those out by hand and started from scratch. This was gravel from the very front all the way to the back. And we tore all of that out and really started from scratch. I like the idea of having little pathways. I love bridges. And so little walkway bridges going around. I love propagating plants. I love working with different species of plants, especially out in the desert. If you notice, a lot of our neighbors have almost all desert landscaping. We use very little water. Everything's on drip irrigation. Some of these plants that are in pots are not on drip irrigation. So once a week, those get watered, but everything else is all on drip. This is something interesting for Arizona. It's something that's used out in California. It's called dwarf carpet of stars, or Rashia nana, and it's a drought tolerant. It's really like a succulent. It's a grass alternative. It stays green all through the winter. It can withstand down to 20 degrees. We've had it in here for almost 2 years now, and it's really starting to fill in. And as it fills in, it's so thick, it'll start to suffocate out weeds. And as you can tell, there's very few weeds that grow in there. Normally, if you do see a weed, it's in a patch where the plant hasn't grown in. But once it's grown in, it really gets in there thick. We have grandchildren, so we like to have them. They'll come and they'll sit down and listen to the pondless waterfalls. This entire area out front has got lighting everywhere. At night, even our flagpole will have the lights out for it. The waterfalls light up, the fountainscapes light up. Even our mailbox has a light box on it. So it's really hard to miss our house. But we use our home as our showroom, because a lot of times when we're trying to explain to people what we do and what we offer, it's really hard to paint that picture for them. And pictures really don't do them justice. You have to be able to see an aquascape system in person. This gives our customers or potential customers the ability to come out and actually sit down and enjoy what we get to on a daily basis. So both of these pondless waterfalls are roughly about 14 to 16 feet long. They each have 6 aqua blocks in them for the reservoir and a 5,000 gallon per hour pump. The fountainscape is sitting on roughly the same size basin, about 6 aqua blocks and a 5,000 gallon per hour pump.
I love the fact that Keith and Polly turned their hobby into their profession. I love that they hired a certified aquascape contractor to create a paradise for them, and that he encouraged him to get into the business. And now they partner up. They do projects all the time, all over. But Keith did a great thing. He started coming to all of our training. So he already had a natural artistic background, but then he paired it with the Aquascape Academy, which I'll put a link below, taking the Aquascape University. Once again, I'll put a link below. And he's come now twice to Pandemonium, which is our every other year event in Chicago. And now he's building water features professionally. If you're interested in building water features professionally, just like Polly and Keith, check out the link below to all of the Aquascape training. I love my job.